Alright guys, I'm back with another chapter in 2 Kings. We're in 2 Kings chapter 8, where the header reads, "The woman from Shunem returns home." And we'll get right into it. Elisha had told the woman whose son he had brought back to life, "Take your family and move to some other place, for the Lord has called for a famine on Israel that will last for 7 years." So the woman did as the man of God instructed. She took her family and settled in the land of the Philistines for 7 years. After the famine ended, she returned from the land of the Philistines, and she went to see the king about getting back her house and land. As she came in, the king was talking with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God. The king had just said, "Tell me some stories about the great things Elisha has done." And Gehazi was telling the king about the time Elisha had brought a boy back to life. At that very moment, the mother of the boy walked in to make her appeal to the king about her house and land. "Look, my lord the king," Gehazi exclaimed, "here is the woman now, and this is her son, the very one Elisha brought back to life." "Is this true?" the king asked her, and she told him the story. So he directed one of his officials to see that everything she had lost was restored to her, including the value of any crops that had been harvested during her absence. Elisha went to Damascus, the capital of Aram, where King Ben-Hadad lay sick. When someone told the king that the man of God had come, the king said to Hazael, "Take a gift to the man of God, then tell him to ask the Lord, 'Will I recover from this illness?'" So Hazael loaded down 40 camels with the finest products of Damascus as a gift for Elisha. He went to him and said, "Your servant Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, has sent me to ask, 'Will I recover from this illness?'" And Elisha replied, "Go and tell him you will surely recover. But actually, the Lord has shown me that he will surely die." Elisha stared at Hazael with a fixed gaze until Hazael became uneasy. Then the man of God started weeping. "What's the matter, my lord?" Hazael asked him. Elisha replied, "I know the terrible things you will do to the people of Israel. You will burn their fortified cities, kill their young men with the sword, dash their little children to the ground, and rip open their pregnant women." Hazael responded, "How could a nobody like me ever accomplish such great things?" Elisha answered, "The Lord has shown me that you are going to be the king of Aram." When Hazael left Elisha and went back, the king asked him, "What did Elisha tell you?" And Hazael replied, "He told me that you will surely recover." But the next day Hazael took a blanket, soaked it in water, and held it over the king's face until he died. Then Hazael became the next king of Aram. Jehoram, son of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, struggling with some of these names, guys, began to rule over Judah in the 5th year of the reign of Joram, son of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. But Jehoram followed the example of the kings of Israel and was as wicked as King Ahab, for he had married one of Ahab's daughters. So Jehoram did what was evil in the Lord's sight, but the Lord did not want to destroy Judah, for he had promised his servant David that his descendants would continue to rule, shining like a lamp forever. During Jehoram's reign, the Edomites revolted against Judah and crowned their own king. So Jehoram went with all his chariots to attack the town of Zer. The Edomites surrounded him and his chariot commanders, but he went out at night and attacked them, under cover of darkness. But Jehoram's army deserted him and fled to their homes. So Edom has been independent from Judah to this day. The town of Libnah also revolted about the same time. The rest of the events in Jehoram's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. When Jehoram died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then his son Ahaziah became the next king. Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, began to rule over Judah in the 12th year of the reign of Joram, son of Ahab, king of Israel. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. His mother was Athaliah, a granddaughter of King Omri of Israel. Ahaziah followed the evil example of King Ahab's family. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as Ahab's family had done, for he was related by marriage to the family of Ahab. Ahaziah joined Joram, son of Ahab, in his war against King Hazael of Aram at Ramoth Gilead. When the Arameans wounded King Joram in the battle, he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds he had received at Ramoth. Because Joram was wounded, King Ahaziah of Judah went to Jezreel to visit him. And that's the end of chapter 8, guys. That one's a little bit shorter than some of the passages we've recently read. And I'm not going to lie, reading this passage gives me a little bit different of a perspective on some of the atrocities that have happened in the Bible. How often do we misunderstand those atrocities? I think that so often we see certain things as what great punishments or what horrible things happen, and maybe based on our human sight on how we see things linearly, and we can unless you're looking through the Spirit and born again through Jesus Christ, you don't have the ability to see the Spirit. And so when you see certain things, you just see the atrocity for what it is, which is heartbreaking, especially at face value. But when you see the things of nations burned to the ground and really these evil men taking power and doing horrible things, how often do we see as we continue these stories that's God protecting us from something? Whether it be a line of evil, what would it be? Evil rulers, the lineage of kingship from one generation to another, stolen from another generation out of pride or jealousy. We see here, I would wrestle with the fact that they go to a holy man, a prophet of God, and he relays the message more than what he asked. He relays the message and says, hey, the king that you asked for, he is going to recover. He is going to get better. He says, but I see here that he's going to die still, and you're going to do horrible things. And he retorts with those, how am I going to do those great things? And he said, and again, sometimes it's struggle with translation, but still, as you read it, it's important context and comprehension. As I read this translation, I would think, why would he think those are great things? That he would do all those horrible things to other people, killing pregnant women and taking kingdoms and burning and hurting people and all these just really terrible things. And we go, as soon as he's told that those are things that are going to be something that he does, he takes the king's life and assumes the crown. And so I struggle with the fact that how much of what the prophet told him led to that. But obviously, it being God's will, I wrestle with those aspects of basically the chain of events. So I struggle with that because did he need to hear those words to have the desire to kill the king? Or, and again, everything works out for good for those that serve the Lord. And that doesn't take away from that understanding. But it's interesting that those things would befall all those people after one man relayed information about the passing of a king, or the potential passing of a king, the fact that he'd get well, but that he would be, and he doesn't come out and say, hey, you're going to be the usurper and you're going to become king, but he really takes it into his own hands. And so I struggle with the understanding of freedom of choice when I see those things laid out like that. Again, the chain of events, when I see that linearly, I'm just like, oh, how did he not play a part in him taking those actions? Again, that's just when you look at it through the eyes of flesh and not the Spirit. But then as it goes and it tells you all these things that happen and lets you know that, hey, this ruler was just like the kings of the past and did a terrible job. And then when it mentions, hey, he made a promise to David. He's going to ensure that happens regardless of the choices that the people make. He's going to make it happen. But when they don't align with God, there's clearly punishment. There's separation. And so what he does His plan allows for our mistakes, our misuse, our misguidance. And so it's so beautifully written that even through those atrocities, those are Him working through us, because we create those, not Him. He's working through us to try and get our victory against us. And I don't want to say against, because He's such a merciful and graceful God that He allows us that free will. And in spite of our difficulties and our mistakes, He still works out things for our good, even when He has to work through our atrocities that we create, our mistakes. He's like, that's okay. Now that you've done that, we have to take this path. Now that you've done this, we have to take this path. And we continue to make things more and more difficult for Him. And obviously, difficulty is a relative thing. He already knows the outcomes. So the path is already set for us. We simply need to walk it. And one of my favorite sayings is, God's in charge of the direction. You just need to make sure that you row. I love that, because if you've ever taken time to go down a winding river, or that has a little bit more tempo than maybe just an easy shallow where someone might go fishing or something like that, and the tempo of the water is just different. It's chaotic, and sometimes we create that chaos in our life. But when we put our faith in Jesus, all we have to do is row. We have to be willing to do the work. We have to be willing to submit. But if we row and do the work, it's all going to work out for our glory. And which is not our glory, His glory, but our good and our victory, which is awesome. It's just difficult sometimes to see through the nonsense that we create. And so, on that note, have a good night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll be back for chapter 9 of 2 Kings tomorrow, where the header reads, Jehu, anointed king of Israel. I probably pronounced that wrong. Jehu. Jehu. I'm going to say Jehu. So buckle up for tomorrow's reading. But Jehu, anointed king of Israel. And that's chapter 9 of 2 Kings. So have a good night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll see you tomorrow for that chapter's reading. Have a good night. God bless, guys.